In this video, I'm going to teach you how to handle mistakes and how to get your head back in the game quickly. Making a mistake in our sport sucks. It certainly doesn't feel good, and if we're not careful, it could have a major negative impact on our ability to perform. So in this video, I'm going to teach you 3 simple steps that you can use to handle those mistakes quickly so they don't negatively impact your performance. I'm going to talk about those 3 steps in just a second, but since we're on the topic of helping you mentally perform, I've got a free gift for you that I think is really going to help. If you go to trainwithpert.com/free guide, you're going to find a free guide that has 3 simple steps that's going to help any athlete better prepare for the next big moment. Again, that's trainwithpert.com/free guide. All right, step number 1 is recognize. Now, obviously, you probably recognize that you made a mistake, but what I want you to focus on recognizing is how did that mistake make you feel? What emotion is that mistake causing you to feel? For example, when some athletes make a mistake, they get angry or frustrated or even embarrassed, and because of this, their mind is stuck in the past. They can't seem to move on from the mistake that's already in the past. And the reason for this is because the emotions, that anger, that frustration, or even that embarrassment, that's keeping them stuck there. Other athletes, when they make a mistake, they become worried or fearful or anxious that they might make another mistake. And because of this, now their mind is way too far in the future. Now, here's the thing. Regardless of if it's the past that you're stuck in or the future that you're drifting off to, your mind isn't where it needs to be. You're not fully paying attention to what's going on around you in the present moment. So what happens? We make another mistake. So I have to help you quickly recognize what emotions keeping you stuck in the past or causing you to drift off in the future. And once you do that, we move on to step number 2. If that first step, recognize, makes sense to you, hit that thumbs up button right now. All right, step number 2 is to set it aside. I want you to envision for a second that you have this shelf in your mind and that shelf has 3 separate sections: past, the present, and the future. Now, when we make a mistake and we've already recognized from step number 1 where our mind is, either in the past or in the future, because of how we feel, now we simply imagine that we set that emotion on the shelf and we leave it there. So for example, maybe you made a mistake and you're frustrated. Well, we have to recognize the frustration like we would in step number 1, but then we have to place that on the past section of the shelf and leave it there because we're frustrated about what just happened in the past. Let's say we make a mistake and now we're worried that that mistake may happen again. Well, we have to recognize that worry again from step number 1, but we place that worry on the future shelf and we leave it there. And every single time that we place something on either the past or the future version of the shelf, we want to be able to bring our mind back to the moment that we're in. And that's what we do in step number 3. If you've gotten value from this video already, then make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. All right, step number 3 is to refocus our mind in the present moment. And the easiest way to do this, whenever we make a mistake and after we've gone through step number 1 of recognizing, after we've gone through step number 2 of setting that on the shelf, setting it aside, take a few moments to just focus on your breathing. And the reason that this works so well to help us refocus on the present is because, well, our breathing's happening in this moment. It's happening in the present moment. Now, you could use other physical cues other than your breathing. I always recommend breathing because it's incredibly simple, but I've got baseball players that they'll push the button on the top of their head. I've got hockey players that'll tap their stick against their shin pads. I've got basketball players that'll just clap their hands. It doesn't really matter as long as whatever that physical cue is, whether it's your breath, pushing the button, tapping the stick on your shin pads, or clapping your hands, as long as you've trained yourself that when you do that thing, my mind immediately goes to the moment. I've said it, I've recognized how I feel, I've set that on the shelf, and now I've brought my focus back to something in the moment and I'm ready to go. Now that final step completes this system or completes this process known as a mental model. And mental models can be incredibly powerful tools that we establish for ourselves, that we train for ourselves to help us better manage specific situations. In this case, the mental model of Recognize, set it aside, and refocus is a specific mental model that you've used or that you now have for a specific situation when you make a mistake. And as we do this more and more, this mental model becomes that much more efficient and that much more effective, and it really becomes something that you can rely on. Leave me a comment below telling me what sport you play and how you're going to use this mental model. Leave me a comment right now. All right, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And for anybody who hasn't, get over there to trainwithperk.com/free guide to pick up that 100% free guide that's really gonna help you in your next big moment. I'll see you next week.